All right, that looks good to me. That all looks pretty good. Hi, everybody. How's it going? Let's see. Got 3 people online right now. And hello, thanks for following today's class. And then hello down here, got a few different streams going on at once. So if you see my eyes kind of diverting at all different angles, still trying to figure out how to do multi in one, don't know. But hello, I'm Julia. Thanks for coming to today's Yin class. So for those who are not as familiar with Yin or have taken Yin but just need a little reminder that in a Yin class, we really focus on stretching out our connective tissues and working deep with our fascia in long held, predominantly floor poses. So just to let you know that this isn't like a traditional vinyasa class where we're going to be flowing a lot. We'll have some movement, but just so that we can warm ourselves up. But a lot of our asanas are going to be held at a few minutes at a time. So just to give you a heads up on what type of class that this will be. And so because this is more of a restorative type class, and we're going to be holding poses for a good few moments at a time. If you don't already have your props set up, I would recommend going and grabbing a bedroom pillow if you do not have your own bolster. And especially if you know that we need some extra paddings if a pillow isn't going to be enough. I recommend just grabbing 2 right away just in case. I would grab a strap or a belt or a tie if needed. Mainly with Yin Yoga classes, sometimes we like to shy away from using a strap because we want our poses to be more passive. So allowing our body to naturally go into the asanas. But some of us like to have that intense or extra help to get more into your stretch. So you're more than welcome to supply a belt, a tie, a strap if you have your own. And then if you have your own blocks, you can go ahead and incorporate your own blocks too. I have 2. So really it all just depends on what you have. And if you don't have blocks, sturdy books can help as well. But those are going to be the props that we will be needing in our class. Well, especially too, if you have your own blanket, I would recommend grabbing a blanket here. Yeah, this will be recorded for those who are asking about this class. So this will be recorded. It will be saved on my Instagram page. So if you would like it, I can just comment below and I can go ahead and send you this video. So now that we've got all these sturdy props, you're like, oh man, what are we getting ourselves into? I just want to make sure that we are all as comfortable as we possibly can because we want Yin to be a very restorative and a very comfortable experience. So with that being said, I got my comfy pants on, got my comfy shirt, all of my stack of props. So at this time, go ahead and grab them if you haven't already and find yourself in the most comfortable position. Good. Yeah. And so as we are here starting in our grounding area, I would right away recommend grabbing your blanket and just folding it in half and placing it into the center of the mat. Okay. And instead of coming into a traditional seated position, You can go ahead and have your knees bent and just allow yourself to sit up on your shins. If you would like a support, you can grab your pillow to kind of place underneath in between your ankle and your booty if you would, just like more cushion. And you're also more than welcome to spread your knees apart and having your feet to the side if that also feels comfortable for you. So here you can go ahead and as you start to find yourself in this kneeled position, just have a very minimal tailbone tuck here. Good, hands can rest nice and gentle onto the thighs. We're going to take a deep inhale, bring in our shoulders up towards our ears. We're going to rotate them back and bring them into the girdle, allowing yourselves to create this structured posture, chest lifted, and very like softness into the belly, just a very small attention here. And as you start to close your eyes, you go ahead and build this connection with your breath. As you build this connection with your breath, taking a deep inhale, allowing your Buddha belly to shine out. And then as you exhale, intently bring in that breath in, and almost as if you're lifting it up in towards your navel. So very little intention, not a strong core engagement, but just to know that we are alive and well into our abdominal region. So taking these deep inhales in through the nose and out through the nose. Good. I'm starting to build this connection with the mat. Earlier, I read a section from this book that gives out different ideas and explains how we can raise our frequencies in many different aspects, whether it be meditative, whether it be through mindfulness, self-reflection, just anything that this book can creatively bring together so that it can help us bring ourselves together. And so what resonated with me is a section in this book titled Just Move, that sometimes you just have to move to empower your body, your mind, and your spirit. So turning off the television, get up and out of the chair, and move your body. When you sit around a lot, your energy levels slow down. So have you been sitting and your legs just feel like they're full of tension? And they may ache, be jittery, or have a little muscle spasms. So you may stretch your legs, but the feelings may just not go away. So if you were to get up and move around, you will notice the tension dissipates and your legs no longer feel so antsy. And that's because you moved them and gave them what they needed, which was activity. And so some ways that we can help with this is just making habits throughout our day. So maybe taking a walk after dinner, or maybe you find that this time spent just moving clears your mind and invigorates and cleanses your muscles and any tension held in them. And this will help raise your energy levels. And so during this time of having to stay in our houses, we tend to sit around and there could be a chance that we are becoming couch potatoes. But this will not only adversely affect our physical fitness, but there is a chance that it can negatively affect our spirituality and our emotional balance. So a mantra that we can take with this class today is that make yourself move, and even if you don't feel like it. So let's relieve some of the tension, and we can actually start that with the legs. And as we do that, before we start to move, you can go ahead and set that intention for your practice today, for whatever got you onto this mat, or maybe something that could have inspired you through that reading. So taking a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Good. So from here, we're going to stretch the top of our feet. So you can either keep the pillow into place or you can remove the pillow. But essentially, you can either take your hands onto your knees and start to press your feet into the ground and engage your core. And inhale, lift your knees up from the mat. And if this is hard for us to balance in this position, you're more than welcome to take your hands behind you and just allowing yourself to slightly lift through the knees with your shoulders rotated back and your chest lifted here. And we want enough, I don't want to say tension because that sounds negative, but we want enough intention into the stretch on top of our feet to where it feels good. And if it feels like it's cramping, it's pinching, we're probably lifting our knees too high, so you can slightly lower them and keeping that good support into your lower core and onto your hands here. Good. And we're not going to stay here for 3 to 5 minutes. We're just going to stay here for 10 more counts, so being mindful with the breath. And you can explore this asana by navigating your hands either onto your knees or on to the mat, just kind of feeling what feels the best. And if you remove your pillow, maybe you can try placing the pillow on the top of your feet, or onto your heels, I should say, and then maybe find that lift through the knees or through the hands. Because for some of us, that might feel better. Good. And then taking your final breath, inhaling through the nose and out through the mouth. Good. You go ahead and remove the pillow if you use that as a prop, bringing it to the side. And finding yourself onto your knees, coming into a supported plank. We're going to lift up through the feet and just begin to create some ankle rolls here. And then reversing the rotation of your ankles. And then from here, making sure that your blanket is still onto the mat. We're going to go ahead, engage the core, and inhale, do a supported chaturanga all the way to the mat. So elbows hold back. And finding our pelvic region on top of our blanket. And then you can navigate your hands forward here, starting in a Sphinx position. We're going to rotate our shoulders back and lead with our chest here, making sure that as we find this lift through our chest, that we're pressing our hands into the mat and scrubbing our hands forward so it can help lift up through the chest. Making sure that we have a little bit of core engagement in the front, especially into the back of the spine. And then also that we are placing attention, pressing our thighs and our feet into the mat too. And that will release tension into the lower spine. Just connecting your breath in through the nose and out through the nose. And you're more than welcome to create movement into your neck here. Very nice and gentle. You can create little rocking side to sides, bringing your nose to the left shoulder, to the right shoulder, as soft and sweetly as you like. You have the option as well to bring your chin to chest and holding it for a few breaths. With your shoulders actively away through the ears. You also have the option to maybe bring your nose up towards the ceiling and continuously having this lift through the chest. Or if you wish, you can create circles with your nose, full circles, so that we are getting an entire radius throughout our neck. And just making sure that when you do these rotations, that you do go the opposite way. And if you were looking for more of an intense heart opening and spinal lengthening, you can instead take your hands out further apart. So maybe off of your mat, pressing your hands into the floor, still having your shoulders away through the ears and lifting up through the heart, and still pressing your thighs into the floor, the top of your feet into the floor. And you can still invite those movements here with your neck. You also have the option to, if your arms are straightened, pressing one hand at a time into the floor. To just kind of rock your spine side to side, getting a little bit of a stretch underneath your armpits. A little bit of a twist into your spine, nothing too deep. Just enough to create some movement here. Good. And then on your next breath, we're going to find our hands underneath our shoulders. So coming back all the way to the ground. Hands underneath the shoulders, elbows pointed back. Inhale, rise into cobra using your core. And then exhale, release. Good. Press or curl your toes to the ground. Inhale, supported plank. Bend the knees generously, coming into a downward facing dog and going ahead and pedaling out the legs. And as you continue to find these pedals, just taking the note that technically this is going to be our only standing position for this class, since most yin poses are floor dominant. Yeah. So we're just here to find more length into our spine. So creating good pedals, one heel at a time. You also have the option to swing the heels side to side so that the feet are at warrior diagonals flat onto the mat. Pressing your hands into the mat, helping your hip crease up more towards the ceiling or towards the sides. And this is an amazing way to stretch out through the side body. Good. So just a couple more breaths here. Another option is to bend the knees generously to help hike the tailbone up and hollowing out through the lower spine, leading your chest towards the mat. So keeping them nice and engaged. Making your neck soft here. Good. And then on the next inhale, we're going to round through the shoulders into plank. Drop at the knees. And keeping our knees underneath our hips, directly underneath, we're just going to walk our hands for one more spinal lengthening before we continue with our asanas. So coming into extended puppy pose. So our hands are going to be active and forward. Our tailbone is up towards the ceiling. And as we take these slow, deep breaths, our chest is going to meet more towards the ground. And if you wanted to deepen the stretch and open more through the arms, you can take blocks or your pillows and you can place them underneath either your forearms or, if you want to, your upper arms where your elbows are, and pressing your palms together, creating a fin above your skull. And taking those deep breaths here, making sure that you are making that effort and connection with your breath. Take two more. Good. And on the next breath, if you have your props, you can go ahead and remove them at this time, placing them side to side. Good. And repositioning your pelvic back onto the blanket with your feet flipped. Good. And we're going to come back to that Sphinx pose. So all this week, we've been working a lot with our core and also incorporation with our core, working with our hips. So today's Yin class is mainly going to be stretching out through the quads and through the lower core hips so that we can kind of restore and build that strength and flexibility for what we worked with this week. So we can go ahead as we find ourselves in the Sphinx position. We're going to place our left foot flat onto the ground, and we're going to bring our right toes towards the ceiling. Our left forearm, we're going to kickstand it so that the hand is essentially not directly in front of our chest because we want our elbow aligned underneath our shoulder, but we want the left hand towards the right side. So where your right elbow was. And we can go ahead and reach around with the right hand, grabbing onto the foot, and then just having on an inhale, stretching the heel as comfortably as you can towards your glute. Okay. Or if you have good flexibility to the front, your heel might go past your hip, and that's okay too, as long as it feels good for you. This is a great way to stretch out your quads, so don't think that you need to go as deep as depicted. You can go however deep that you would like. This is just a great way to stretch out through the quads. Take your eye gaze forward. If you wanted to intensify the stretch, if that's what you're looking for, you are more than welcome to kind of press your hand or your foot against your hand, and you will feel it more into your quads, and you'll feel it more around your knees too. So you're more than welcome to experiment with it, but if it doesn't feel that great to you, well, then you know what to do. Just kind of lay off a little bit. So connecting with that breath, you can either find stillness here, or if you wanted to kind of rock the foot back and forth as you stretch, just making sure that you go nice and slow so that we aren't putting strain onto the quad. Maybe a little bit of quad engagement here, just a very little. We don't want our quads to be entirely tight. And we're going to stay here for 3, for 2, and for 1. At this time, you can release the foot, repositioning the right elbow back to the mat, and lifting up both feet, and just go ahead and do a few windshield wipes side to side. And again, maybe inviting some of those ankle rolls here to reset, just making sure that you do it nice and slow and gentle. Okay. And always making sure that when you find that rotation, to rotate the opposite way through your feet. Good. And now that we're going to work onto the other side, we can reposition our right foot back to the mat. We can take our right elbow underneath our shoulder and kickstand the right hand to where the left elbow was. Good. Find that lift through the chest forward. We're going to inhale, lift up through the left foot, and bring the left hand to connect with the left foot. And then allowing the foot to either meet the glutes or maybe past the hip if that feels good for you. And I'll go ahead and I'll reposition myself at this time for a better viewing. But having that pelvic to the blanket, making sure that we feel nice and strong into the bottom arm to keep us supported here. Eye gazes forward, preferably closed so that we can fully immerse into the sensations of these stretches. Taking those long, deep, and connected breaths. Maybe on the inhales, we find more length through our spine, and then on the exhales, coming more deep into the asana, whether that be in a meditative or a physical state. From here, we're going to take our final breaths. So take 5 more breaths. From here, take your final deep inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Good. Lifting up both of the feet here, doing some windshield wipes. And then you can also rotate at the ankles. Good. And then from here, you can take your hands back to the mat. Elbows are back into that cobra position. As we inhale, we're going to lead through the chest, lift up into cobra. Exhale, release. Curling through the toes. Inhale, engage the core, and come up into a supported plank. As we come into a supported plank, finding yourself in tabletop position. Good, and maybe doing a few cat-cows to reset your spine here. And you can also create some hip sway side to side. And then at this time, you can go ahead, come out of your tabletop position and grabbing your pillows if you have them. So grabbing our nice makeshift bolsters here. We are going to create saddle pose. And essentially, saddle pose is another deep quad opener, as well as with your shoulders. And essentially, we're going to be in the same position that we just were, but on our backs instead of our stomach. So finding yourself at that kneeled position here, we're going to go ahead and take a pillow, and we're going to place it behind our glutes. And this is why I recommended if you had two pillows to grab them in case that you need more support in your spine. But from here, if you needed to, you can also create a little bit of a boost for your glute onto this nice pillow. You can spread your knees apart here. Feet can either be underneath or maybe to the sides. And from here, you are going to slowly walk yourself onto the pillow with your forearms onto the mat. And you're more than welcome to stay here if this is enough for your quads. Or you can come all the way down onto the pillow. And you can take your hands, clasping them together, and bringing them behind your head, fanning your elbows to the floor. And so if one pillow is not enough and you're like, all right, I need more of a boost here, then go ahead and grab another pillow and just sandwich it up. And that way you have more support. We want to get these deep stretches as well as getting deep into that meditative state with each and every blissful breath. You also have the option with your hands, if you wanted to, you can have them straight above your head to open up through the upper chest here and into the arms, the shoulders. Place them wherever it feels comfortable. Connecting with that breath, taking the deep inhales in through the nose and out through the nose. Allowing your Buddha belly to shine nice and bright towards the ceilings. And you're also more than welcome to place your hands onto your belly as a reminder to breathe. We're going to stay here for 5 more breaths. Taking your final breath, deep inhale through the nose. Releasing your arms and bring them nice and high above your head. Deep inhale. Exhale through the mouth. You can meet your forearms back onto the mat and start to lift your chest up, pressing your hands into the mat to help lift yourself up here. Good. Taking your time, nice and gentle. And very slowly start to bring your legs towards the front of the mat here. And I would grab the pillows and I would place them to the side of your legs. With your blanket, I would take it from under your seat and start to roll it up like a little blanket burrito here. And in the next asana, we are going to come into a Paschimottanasana. It's a forward fold. So placing the blanket underneath your knees, it will help bring more support into your hip hinge. And so this is also a great time for those who would like to incorporate a strap into your practice. There's many different options that we can use for our Paschimottanasana, our forward fold today. We can either come into a passive forward fold, lifting up through the chest, finding that straight spine and hinging forward at the hips, engaging the quads, and grabbing onto our toes, grabbing onto our shins. You can grab a strap if you wanted to get deeper into the asana. You also have the option to place a pillow nice and comfy on top of your legs. And as you hinge, just allowing your upper body to meet the pillow if you're able. And it's a great thing that we brought 2 to start. So you get hip hinge, you kind of hug your pillows here, just allowing yourself to be as nice and comfortable as you can. And so this is your choice on how you would like to spend the next few moments here in your Paschimottanasana. Either very prop supported with the pillows, maybe removing the pillows and grabbing onto the feet or onto the shins. Or also, if you do have a tight back or a rounded spine, I kind of have a little roundedness at my thoracic, you can also grab a pillow and place it underneath your hip hinge, so underneath your glutes, but more towards the end so that we're not fully sitting onto the pillow. We can sit on the edge so that it can help bring us a little bit lift, so it can help us fold a little better here. And again, we got to 2 pillows, so if you needed the 2 pillows to kind of help you with this hinge forward, you can place it here and come more forward. Another option, if you have a very tight spine, is that instead of just having the blanket underneath your knees, you can also take a pillow underneath your knees or maybe underneath your thighs to with a bend into the knees. So you can have this good bend here so that you can really get that stretch through the spine. So you can see here that my back appears more straight. Then when I have my legs straight and I come into the forward fold, I start to round because I too need to work more onto my upper body and my lower core to find that posture. But when I have those props underneath my thighs or sitting onto the props, yes, my legs are bent, but I'm still getting that good stretch into my hamstrings, and look at my spine. It's more straight here. Good. So go ahead and take a few good moments of breath here. And we're going to stay here for 5 more breaths. Your final breath, take a deep inhale and rise through the chest, coming back into that straight spine. And then exhale, release the breath. Still making sure that you have your props nearby. We are going to go ahead and do a couple windshield wipes into our legs. Good. And we're going to work a little bit more into the hips and hamstrings here. Going into half-legged folds. So from here, we're going to start with our right leg bent in and our left leg extended forward. And as we start here, we can utilize what we're going to do is actually we're going to start with our leg forward and then move to the sides. Just like the Paschimottanasana, we're going to find that hip hinge fold here, either grabbing onto the foot, the shin, whatever feels the best. We can use the same exact modifications that we used in the Paschimottanasana. So if you do have that tightness into either your hamstrings or to your lower spine where we start to round, go ahead, throw a pillow underneath. And it's okay if the knee is bent because we want quality over quantity. We want to make sure that we feel the best into the asana instead of criticizing or making sure that we look the best into it. So either having a prop underneath the knee, you can also have a blanket, or you can also sit at the very edge of the pillow to help you fold here. If your goal is to get a really deep and invigorating stretch here, then you're more than welcome to grab a strap and to place it onto the ankle bone. Just making sure that the strap, that it's not on the arch of your foot and that it's not completely at the top of your toes, because we don't want to overflex through our dorsi. We don't want to overflex through our foot because that might put a lot of tension into the hamstrings, especially if we're feeling really tight. So having it right on the ankle bone, we have that direct connection to the Achilles, which the Achilles is connected to our gastrocnemius, which is in English our calf. And so we got that support here. Still leading with that chest forward. We're going to take 3 more breaths so that we can work onto the side. And on next breath, we can rise up through the chest, straight spine. And then we can take our props and move them to the side, and making sure that our pelvic is forward and that our left leg is to the side as much as we possibly can. That's nice and comfortable. Good. And then from here, you can grab a prop. So making sure that you have a prop underneath your leg if you're really tight in your hamstrings. So it could be your pillow or your blanket. But making sure that we do have a pillow coming forward here. So that because we're going to come into a half wide-legged forward fold. So grabbing onto a bolster will help throughout our spine. Because we really don't want to find our hips leaving the ground. So if we're folding forward and our hips are starting to come up, fold them, we're not finding that full support for our leg to get that stretch. So by utilizing this bolster and kind of hinging forward here, leading with that straight spine, we decrease that risk of lifting up through the hips, and we're still getting that good stretch into the left leg and working inward with our hip rotation here, our hip sockets. Finding those deep breaths, just making sure that we're not breathing very fast here, because that will excite the nervous system and might bring a little bit of a alertness, of panic if we breathe very fast. So making sure that it's nice and calm and that we're comfortable. 3 more breaths. Taking your final breath, deep inhale through the nose and then out through the mouth. We're going to gently come out of our asana. Okay. And we're going to bring the leg forward here, right leg to follow. And you can go ahead and just kind of shake at the ankles, getting a good reset into the hips. But if you need to kind of twist side to side, making sure the spine is lifted. Getting a little energy to the spine here. And we're going to go ahead and take it to the opposite side now. So this time, we're going to go ahead and bring the left foot in, straight spine up, and the right foot forward, and prop up if you need to. I am propping up underneath my knee because of my tight spine and my hamstrings. Good. And so the foot is going to be forward here. So as your foot is forward, we're going to find that straight spine, and then inhale, find that hip hinge, grabbing onto the foot, either the shin. You can also just allow your hands to be nice and relaxed with your palms facing up, and maybe bringing the chin to chest if you want this to be more restorative, less forcive. But if you're like really looking for that intense stretch, then grab your makeshift strap and place it onto the ankle bone here. Right foot is flexed and active, as well as our left foot. Quad is engaged, the kneecap is lifted. Releasing any tension into the face, loosening your jaw, unfurrowing your brows, leading with that chest forward. And take 2 more breaths. You go ahead, inhale, rise, chest up towards the ceiling, and then we're going to navigate the right foot to the side, making sure that our hips are squared into the front, and bringing the right leg to the side as comfortably as we can with the right knee up, the right toes up, prop up if you need to or would like to. Good. And then when you're ready, leading with that straight chest, nice and lifted, go ahead and start to walk your hands forward, maybe onto your forearms. And if you are on your forearms, you can press your hands into the ground and kind of scrub that tailbone back so that we can have more support and help bring our hips to the ground. And if your hips are starting to rise, either loosen up or like walk your hands back from the fold, or maybe bring in that support underneath your glutes. And you can also bring that pillow forward as a bolster. Whatever it is that feels good, we're going to stay here for a few more moments of breath. The right foot is active, toes are towards the ceiling. Good. 5 more breaths. Taking the final breath, inhale through the nose and out through the mouth. You can slowly start to rise up through your prop if you use one as a bolster. Good. And you can go ahead and swing both the legs forward, either straighten them out, rock them side to side, or bend them side to side, anything to reset yourself here. Good. And then for our next asana, we're going to combine both the legs and bring it both to the side. Woo! And so coming into a full wide-legged forward fold, we're gonna, as much as you can, bring your legs side to side here with your toes pointed up, heels to the ground. And it's totally okay and legal if you wanted to prop up each knee, getting nice and supported here. So this is a great way to find that support, and maybe start to walk your hands where your forearms are to the ground. Good. And it's okay if we don't have a lot of hip hinge going on. Even if we are up here, we can still keep either our fingertips or our hands active to the mat or to the floor, and pressing ourselves away to help bring the tailbone to the ground. And if the tailbone is already to the ground, you can just keep your hands glued here and then lead with your chest forward. Okay. And you can take those good few moments of breath here, and very slowly, as you breathe, you will start to see that your breath is becoming more in depth with your muscles. So your chest wants to make its way more to the ground. Upper body wants to make its way more towards the ground. Oh, hello. New joiner. Good. And take your final 3 breaths here. Inhale through the nose, out through the mouth. Rise it back up with that straight spine. Bringing the knees in, very gently bend them and kind of rock them side to side. And you can go ahead and place your pillows to the side for now. And you can re-find your blanket and bring it in to the center of the mat here. As you find the center to the mat, just do 2 sets of cat-cows to reset your spine. So creating any movement that feels good here. Good. Then after those 2 sets, you're going to go ahead and find yourself plank position. And then exhale, downward facing dog, tailbone up towards the ceiling, chest towards the ground, heels to the ground. Plant the left foot to the ground. Inhale, rise, right leg, 3-legged dog. We're going to bend the knee and open up the hip crease. And then inhale, square the hips, and bring the right knee to the right elbow, placing your right foot to the outside of the right hand. So as we are here, we're going to walk the foot about 1 inch away from your hand with your toes pointing towards the right corner of the mat. Keeping our knee lifted here into lizard pose for just 2 breaths. Good. And then we can start to guide the left knee to your blanket. Coming into this lizard position. And very slowly allowing that hip socket to become open into the right hip. Good. Pressing the top of your left foot to protect your left knee. You can then go ahead and guide the right hand to the right knee and very gently just to push it away through your body and with intention, not very forceful here. Keeping the chest lifted. Good. And if you had the option to stay here, or if you wanted to get a more intense quad stretch, you can roll the outer edge of your right foot onto the floor, bend at the left knee, and then guide your right hand to grab onto your left foot. Taking your eye gaze over the right knee. You always have the option to try this. And if you don't like it, you just bring the foot back down and maybe bring the hand back onto the knee. Good. So keeping the hips nice and supported and maybe gently pressing the right foot into the left, or the left foot into the right hand to open up more to the quad. Not forceful, just with an intention. Nice and soft. Staying here for 3, for 2, and for 1. You very gently place the left foot back to the mat. Good. And then from here, walking the right foot back into the center. And go ahead and do a half splits here. The toes are either pointed forward or pointed up. Good. Leading with that chest forward so we don't have a whole lot of roundness into the spine. And then you can roll out your ankles, do whatever it feels good to reset your leg here. Time. And then you can come back to that lizard prep, or I should say Anjaneyasana prep this time. Curling the left toes, lift up the knee. And then bring the right leg back, downward facing dog. Rooting through the right ankle, bending straighten the left leg back into a 3-legged dog here. Good. With the toes nice and pointed and active. And then bending the left knee and opening up your hip crease to the side. Let's spreading the knees far apart. Inhale, square the knees. And inhale, bring the left knee to the left hand and place the left foot to the outside of the left hand. So walking the left toes towards the left side, creating maybe 1 inch between the hands, pointing the toes to the left corner, allowing the left knee to go more towards the left pinky toe. Top of the right foot is onto the ground, knees onto the ground, lifting up through the chest. We're going to ground through the right hand and taking our left hand to the left knee and very gently looking over the left shoulder. Or maybe the left knee if you don't want the twist to be that intense. You're more than welcome to stay here, or if you want to create more of a quad stretch here, you can take your left hand behind to grab onto the right foot. And then from here, you can go ahead and either bring the heel closer to the glute. You can press the right hand or the right foot into the left hand. Create more of a spinal stretch, more to a quad stretch. And if you're still not a fan of this, that's okay. Just let go of your foot and place your left hand back on the left knee. You don't have to stay anywhere that doesn't serve you. But I do challenge you to stay into this asana for 4 more breaths. Whatever variation that works for you. You can then inhale through the nose. And then exhale, release. Placing the left hand to the outside of the left foot. Good. And then from here, coming into a half splits with the left leg. Chest is lifted. So straight spine, or coming into a little hip hinge, maybe rotating the ankle. You can also create little movements into the left leg if that feels good to reset and stretch. And then you can go ahead and lift up through the right knee. Bring in the left foot back into plank, dropping the knees. Good. And then coming onto your seated area, bringing your legs to the front of the mat. And go ahead and if you would like, you can grab a pillow for a bolster. And then as we do our Shavasana today, as our spine is nice and rested onto our pillow, we can press our feet together and open up through the knees into Supta Baddha Konasana, so into butterfly pose. And you can keep straight legs if this isn't serving you, but this is an option for your Shavasana. And you can take your hands down to the sides, taking a deep inhale in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then very softly staying here in your Shavasana, taking a few moments of breath, unwinding, and enjoying your resting time here. And then as you're lying here in your Shavasana, I picked a quote that resonated with the current times. And with this quote is, chaos is what we've lost touch with, and this is why it is given a bad name, that it is feared by the dominant archetype of our world, which is the ego, which clenches because of its existence, is defined in terms of control. And that's by Terence McKenna. Then as you're lying here in your Shavasana, you can go ahead and start to find these micro movements from your toes and your ankles, your fingers, your wrists, and just allowing the energy that you gain from today's practice give you a new sense of awareness. Taking a deep inhale, bringing your arms over your head and your knees into your chest. Letting it out with a cleansing sound. And you can bring your knees either to the left or to the right side. Very gently finding yourself in a comfortable seated position. And as you find yourself in your seated position, you can take your hands to the palm center in your Anjali Mudra and taking a bow to yourself and everybody here who have been so graceful and gracious enough to share this space with us today, whether it be in spirit or sharing this connection over all these different platforms that are being broadcasted. I thank you for your support. Without your support, we wouldn't be able to have these live videos to provide for you all tonight. And to wish you all a very comfortable and pleasant evening. And namaste. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming to tonight's class. If you would like, you can stick around for the second session. It's similar like the Yin Yoga. It's just a slow flow class where we're going to be working very slow, but working in a way that we are deepening our body in some long held poses, but you will see more asanas into the next class. So if you would like to join, feel free. Thanks so much for taking this class, y'all. Be live in a minute.